got your EP. Alright, so it's my pace we're looking at. It's playing against Industrious, and it looks like the map is Siberia. Good old Siberia. The Japanese player. Over here, my pace is the guy that we're going to be watching. It's a 200 wood start, so he is going to need to be able to chop a bunch more wood should he want to do some sort of consulate. Has his consulate coming down early. That's good. Villagers going over here. Don't gather your coin crate. Okay, it looks like you know that. It's just a little bit of a mistake. Have a nice wood treasure and base. That's always useful. Using your orchard rickshaw to scout. That's something that even I don't do very well. Coming across another pretty nice wood treasure. All these are good things. Overgathered a little bit of wood. Not the biggest deal. Not overly bummed out about this. I would make, if you're going to scout like you did here, I would make sure you scout like back here. Because like there's a hunt back there that it would be nice to know about, etc. A little bit of contention going on over here. I didn't actually see who ended up stunning these. It looks like he did. And if that's true, that's good for you. Just start attacking him. Make sure you're standing right on top of this in case there's a divine strike. Like if there's a divine strike there, you want to make sure you get it. He got it. It's fine. Looks like you need to build your shrine anyways. Got a villager still misrallied here on wood. Clean up some of these little things. I wouldn't get too carried away with where this guy ends up going. I would just make sure he clears out like these little spots back here. And then get him built in the position. Okay, no issues with your age up. Didn't have any idle time. Or with your construction of a shrine. Don't spend too much time just standing here shooting him. It's more important for you to identify where the hunts are that you're going to need to shrine. And identify other treasures. This map has got tons of good treasures. Lots of things that you could be picking up, like stuff like this will help you age up. There's a wood treasure, a couple coin treasures. Most of the wood treasures have been taken. This is a mistake. Like you're just not scouting here now. You've got both of your monks just like blindly chasing after him. You want to have as much of the map scouted out at this point as possible. And it's a mistake that you've spent so much time just chasing him around after that failed treasure. Alright, 680. Dropping down to Teshuga. This is a very good spot for the Teshuga. I really like this. You can put barracks here, market here. It's got a really nice full wall. You're going to get a full set of hunts on that shrine as well. It's very good. Monk's a little out of position. I preach this often with Japan. Make sure you should have like one here and one that's on a hunt that's bound to be here. And then one that's on whichever hunt is furthest over here. You probably can't reach that one. No, you probably can. Might be a little too close. Your monks are a little out of position, but Siberia is a somewhat forgiving map because of just the sheer number of hunts available on it, so it's not the biggest deal. So far your mirror build looks pretty standard, pretty solid. This is what I'm saying, right? You don't have quite as deep of penetration as I would like to see with your shrines. I'd love to, and some of it comes down to your scouting in the early game hasn't been that good. You should have shrines hopefully back in these positions and then be working your way back here. You're doing better than he is. His penetration is almost none. Like, I'm just going to briefly show. Like, look at, he hasn't barely even scouted over here. He doesn't have any shrine penetration, so that's a huge advantage for you. Just the fact that you're over on his side of the ice is really good. Alright, that's a pretty slow age up, but it was a coin crate start, and you didn't get a ton of help with treasures, so I don't think it's the end of the world. 600 wood coming, that's good. Should probably build your market here. I've said this before. Okay, so let's take a look at what you've got, right? You've got one monk building a shrine. Where's your other monk? Doesn't have a shrine dropped, but he's probably walking like to over here, right? Trying to get in a position where he can build a shrine. Where's he waypointed? Can I find his waypoint? Is he moving? He is moving. Okay, he's waypointed over here somewhere. I can't find it, apparently. But he's waypointed over there somewhere. But this is the point where, right, you've got one guy building, one guy walking. This is the point you drop your market. You 100% drop your market here. You get it started. You're going to have an influx of wood here coming anyways. This is a point where you can drop it down, start getting your upgrades, and still continually be building shrines with both of your monks. So the fact that, okay, well, it came down like literally 2 seconds after, but that could have come a little bit earlier. You can identify that this is going to happen. You can see this coming, and then you can preemptively build the market before you get to 150 wood. It could be coming right at that 85. So it was a little late, but it's just a recognition thing. It's not a huge deal. Alright, good. Getting the berry upgrade first. I would get civil servants in queue next, and not blanket filters. I almost always do cherry gather 1, civil servants, cherry gather 2, blanket filters, and then imperial bureaucracy. Like, that's the order that I would recommend getting getting the upgrades in. And then I wouldn't recommend, at least not early on, getting the second coin gathering upgrade. That's an awkward position for a Rax. I would have preferred to see Rax, or Rax, like off to the right side. This is a pretty awkward spot. Just breaks up your passing between the town center. Doesn't really matter that much in Jatmir, but it is an awkwardly placed Rax. Alright, your wood is here. Gathered it up. Getting your upgrades. That's good. I would transition off of wood at this point. You've got plenty of shrine population. You're probably going to end up with too much wood, and you're not going to get out a ton of ashes. Okay, so it looks like, all right, so I'm going to pause here. This is kind of like the first important point. So this is the point where in my build, I normally put 2 villagers on coin and put everything else on food, and then put my shrines on coin. And specifically the reason why I do that is because if you're going to get the second coin gathering upgrade, it's 100 food and 100 wood, and to really have this many villagers gathering on coin, I think it's justifiably important to have the second coin gathering upgrade. If you're only going to have 2 villagers on coin, you don't need to get the second coin gathering upgrade. And I think your early mass is slightly stronger, and your general early eco is slightly stronger by doing that kind of look, having fewer villagers on coin, more on food, and then skipping that coin gathering upgrade. Now, that does of course mean that you will be tearing through your food a little bit heavier, and as a result, you're going to need to send your cherry archers a little bit earlier. But what I do to mitigate that is, once you've stabilized a bit and you're getting out to a point where you can get 5-5-5 consistently, then you can start transitioning villagers over to coin, get the second coin gathering upgrade, and then start putting your shrines on food if you need to. That's kind of my stylistic preference of how I manage Jap's kind of early mid-game eco, and especially if you have a second safe coin mine, which you actually have a pretty safe second coin mine. And on e-patch games in general, you'll usually have a second safe coin mine. Will result in a slightly better mid-ish game as well. You have 400 export. If you're going to build the bows, build them now. I don't think it's inherently wrong to be skipping the bows if you have other plans for that export, but if you are going to build the bows and use them to pressure, it's a mistake to not be building them at 400. So as you're watching this, just know that if you are planning on building the bows, just make them at 400. You only missed it by 20 exports. Not that big of a deal. So far your gameplay here has been really solid. Like this is a really good look, really solid gameplay so far. Nothing wrong with this. Just little things that you can clean up. I feel like you're ahead at this point. Yeah, I mean you're like 8 or 9 shrines out. Alright, what's what's your next card going to be? That's what you should be thinking right now. What's my next card going to be? Is it going to be Ashy Attack or 600 coin? If it's 600 coin, you're planning on aging up and you want to be somewhat careful with your units. And if it's going to be Ashy Attack, you need to be starting to get in a position where as soon as that hits the floor, you can engage him. I'm not saying you're not doing those things. I'm just for the viewers that are perhaps watching. That's what you need to be doing. Imperial Bureaucracy coming down. 840, that's fine. 600 coin. Okay, so you're aging. So you want to be careful with your army here. You don't want to necessarily lose them. So you do have to consider the fact that he could be shipping Ashy Attack right now, or with his next card. It looks like you're slightly ahead in XP, so it's not happening right now. But he could potentially be shipping it, right? So you need to be careful. You need to be monitoring this. Obviously, you're ahead in this fight, so it's fine. You're ahead in mass. Let's see what he's sending. Okay, he has the card available, but he's not sending it. Why are you just turning and fighting? Stop. Look at his army. 13 and 3. Look at my army. 14 and 7. Like, there's no reason for you to be turning and running here. It's just a mistake. You could continue to stay there and fight. Maybe you're a little put off because you're shipping 600 coin and you're wanting to be careful, but that's just, you need to get a better read on that fight. Like, the second you started running away, I could tell it was a mistake. Just by eyeballing that, I could tell that your army was much better. You could have stayed there and fought that and started applying more pressure on his shrines as a result. But either way, your 600 coin is here. You're going to be able to age up. He still hasn't sent his card. It looks like he's aging up and just. Oh no, he has. He's sent 600 coin. It looks like. No, he sent 600 wood, 4 vil, 600 coin. You're like 4 vils up on him as a result. All right, you're both aging. You're ahead in terms of eco. You still have 2 deep. Like, you should be contesting here, especially with your ashies. Like, there's no harm in keeping your ashies interested and like having them poke up here, even if you're aging, right? Because worst case scenario, he's not aging, he's sent Ashy Attack, and then you just run away, right? But you could be like ducking in and out of the fog here, picking off ashies and stuff, and helping preserve that shrine for a little bit longer. Instead, you're just standing here, back defensively. You should be trying to get in a position to be impactful with your units. If you have units, see how he's still like over here doing something, even if it's just like 2 or 3 ashies over here sieging shrines, right? Any of that's going to be better than just standing on top of your base. You're just not using your army right now, which is a mistake. Notice how you're both doing the same thing, but during this time, you've stood here with your army and done nothing, and he's moved around the map and killed 2 of your shrines. And as a result, he's starting to close that gap. Remember how just a couple minutes ago it was 200 to 110? Now it's 140, soon to be 150 to 180. So that gap is starting to close a little bit. Stockpiling a lot of resources. This is the point, by the way, I'm just going to mention it, that I get at least the first wood gathering upgrade. If at any point you've got this much food, there's never any harm in just sinking 50 food into getting that. You don't know if you're going to lose your market, or like maybe your cherries run out and everything starts chopping wood. It's just kind of like a safety blanket to have that wood upgrade so that you get that little extra bit of efficiency anytime you're going to start chopping. I haven't seen you get it yet, so I might have missed it, but I don't think I did. Just an aside. Make sure that you always have the resources to immediately queue up your veterancy upgrade. Okay, he's aged as well. If he's aged as well, I don't know that there's... I mean, obviously at this point you probably know that you've made the mistake, right? I mean, this is the 3rd or 4th shrine that he's killed out on the map, and you still haven't done anything about it. And even though you were very far ahead as a result, you could have been even further ahead. Okay, I got the upgrade coming. You're over to Japanese isolation. That's good. You should be. That's like the 6th shrine that you've lost. You can split off your ashies here. Don't fight until your upgrade comes. Dangerous fighting. It's dangerous. Yeah, dangerous. Danger, danger, danger. Even though you've got them outnumbered here, still gonna be okay. There comes your upgrade. Looks like you're still gonna be fine. Like, I don't actually know how you lose here. Like, you should win from here. Something's gonna have to go pretty wrong if you're gonna lose. Bushido Tactics online. That's good. This is okay. I'm going to pause here because this is a fairly critical point. So if you look at your food, like it's starting to run out here, right? So this is when I would have like cut like 15 of these vills over to this coin mine preemptively to try and preserve this cherry orchard a little bit longer and flip my shrines over to food. You can see now how you're gathering on coin with your shrines, and you've got a bunch of villagers on food here, and this is soon going to run out, and then you're going to have like an awkward situation where you'll probably just have villagers standing around or chopping wood, and then your economy will get a little misbalanced. I would have made that switch a little bit more preemptively, because I feel like this is going to run out, your cherries aren't going to quite be here, and then you're going to just be standing around awkwardly for a little bit, or chopping wood or something. Or maybe even worst case scenario, you don't send cherry orchards right now. Okay, at least you send cherry orchards. That's good. Starting to contest the map. Alright, you've got age 4 in tow. He's got age 4 in tow as well. I don't know that it's wrong. Yeah, see, this is what I was talking about. This is exactly where, like, if you would have noticed that before, you could have cut a bunch of villagers over to coin, flipped your shrines over to food, and then not had this situation where you had 27 vills go idle and they all have to chop wood for 45 seconds while you wait for your cherry orchards to finish. Oh, shit. I knew that was going to happen. This was a robot patch game, wasn't it? And that's the point where that guy aged up in the patch is like, oh, wait, this isn't right. Alright, we'll get back into the game. There's the point where you aged up and the Shogunate Wonder has different XP levels and the game freaks out because it's got the wrong number. Alright, let's get back into the game. We're at the point where Orange had just aged up. There, we'll race car through some of this early stuff. We'll see if at race car speed we see anything else that looks out of place. A little bit of idle time there, like we mentioned. Coin crate start. You gathered some of your coin, that also slowed you down. Race car on our way through. Chop fills chop, chop fills chop. 600 wood, 4 fill, 4 fill, I believe is what you did. He cut one of his 4 fills. He did 600 wood, 4 fill, 600 coin. I still like to send the double 4 fills. Personally. And I think as long as you're careful with your food, it's still better. Okay, still, I want to reiterate again, like this is the point where he killed like 6 or 8 of your shrines, or like 6 of your shrines in transition, and you did nothing, and that gap got a lot closer. Like, look at it, it's 150 to 170 now. I'm just going to mention that as we continue to race our way through. Like, you could push there. That's a situation. Let's talk about this again, because this is a situation where you just won that fight hard. Look at, he's aging up. Yeah, I realize you're aging up as well, but after you've won that fight, like, there's a very good chance that you just push in here and just probably kill him, or maybe kill one of his orchard rickshaws or something. Because if you take a look at raw population's 96 versus 64, you're like 30 up. There's a very strong possibility that if you don't duck back for the shrine and just go into his base while he's just dropped this wonder, that you cause serious distress for him. Like, you might just win the game out right there. Just a quick aside. After you won a fight, it's always a good time to push in. Alright, so this is the point we were at, right? He had just aged up, you're aging up as well. Kind of had an oh shit moment where your cherry orchards hadn't come. Look at how your eco got so out of whack here. Good thing is you've got resources in order to build like flintlock and stuff like that, if you haven't. You could get flintlock here and still have the resources to get Honored Ashigaru when you get aged up. Get a Vil back in queue. You're still slightly ahead in terms of Vils. Alright. Shogunate is up to shipments in tow. 4 flaming arrows, 4 flaming arrows. That's going to be 10 flaming arrows. That's a lot. Your honored upgrade, like you should cancel that. The most important thing is getting your honored upgrade right now. And any time that you just sit with that in queue is potential time that he could come and kill you. Especially when you have Bushido as well. I know you've already researched Bushido here, right? So you can get those 8 ashes out of a single Rax anyways. Okay. Honestly, I think your biggest mistake so far this game is just your passivity. Like, you just haven't been aggressive when you've had windows to be aggressive. And identifying those windows can be difficult, but I would start working my way forward now. You've got 6 flaming arrows and you've got 4 more with a mobile shipment point online. You can start getting into a position where you could get into place to kill him here. Alright. Flintlock. Important upgrade. So I would ideally like the second that those are there, that you are they are being made use of, right? Ideally, you are just about to start a fight, and then 4 more flaming arrows pop out of your daimyo, and then you're in a fight, right? That would be ideal situation. Your army is definitely not in a position to do that. Has he shipped Yumis? It looks like he probably has. Yeah, he shipped 16 Yumis twice. He doesn't have the upgrades for them. He's just getting the discipline upgrade now. Assumedly, he's going to try and get the honored upgrade. As long as you have good control with your flaming arrows, it shouldn't matter. Let's oh. Okay. Well, the Shogun's out of place. Snipe him! Snipe him or he's going to recount it. I mean, you still have 10 flaming arrows here, right? You should just dumpster this fight with decent flaming arrows. Make sure the flaming arrows are like actually shooting the units. Still have 9 full HP flaming arrows. Your spread hasn't been overly great. Looks like it's not going to matter. It actually is kind of mattering, but it's not going to matter too much. You should probably build a castle at this point as well, just so that you can get the upgrade for flaming arrows. It's really cheap, actually. More of the expense is building the structure to be able to actually do the research. This is a point where you want like 5 or 6 Ashi. Like, you could just have like 3 Ashi over here sieging, or hell, you could just make clubs and start sieging with clubs. Either way, like, you're winning this game. You can't lose from it. Spend your resources. Look at your resource count. If you have resources to spend them. Built a stable. I don't think you should build a stable. You should have built a castle if anything, so you can get a great for your flaming arrows. Shogun Tokugawa! No, not Shogun Tokugawa! More flaming arrows coming into the mix. Alright, so I'm going to say one thing to preface this. So, there's a reason why I ask for people to, in general, I think it's more helpful when you send me a loss, right? And that's very well demonstrated here. Honestly, there wasn't really any situation where you were really that far behind here, right? I think you're a better player than him. Your early game build was pretty good. Truthfully, like, it was... Even though it was a pretty long game, you were always up 30 or 40 in score. You kind of just dumpstered the fights and rolled into his base and killed him, right? It's hard to say anything too constructive when you win by a very wide margin. And although, you know, the game is 19 minutes, you won by a wide margin. It wasn't really even close. I mean, if we take a look at the post game, you're going to be ahead in resources. Yeah, you're ahead in resources. Like, you outgathered them by 1,000 or plus resources. So, I mean, you're ahead in that regard. Take a look at the military unit population, right? You're always ahead. You won every single fight convincingly. The early skirmishes, you were ahead. It's just really hard to make comments when you're always far ahead, right? It's always easier to play from a position where you're ahead. That said, there are still some things you can fix up. I think there was an opportunity, one, for you to be more active with your army. I mentioned it a couple times, and I think that was your biggest flaw in this game. It didn't actually end up costing you the game. But for the most part, after the early little back and forths had happened and you started aging and getting your tech going, you just sat here with your army and didn't actually use your military. And that's a big mistake in Japan Mirrors, because as I said numerous times, right, he was going out around the map, sieging your shrines down. Perhaps if we take a look at the buildings tab, we'll get an accurate view of that. Yeah, this is actually quite telling, right? So you got really far ahead in terms of shrines, and then look what happened here, right? At 8 minutes, this is where you guys about start aging, or at least you've made up your mind that you're going to be aging. And look at what he's doing to your shrines, right? You're losing shrines, you rebuild one. He kills a third, a fourth, 2, 3, 4. He's killed 5, 6, 7-ish shrines, right? And what are you doing as a response to that? Nothing, right? You don't do anything. Your economy's better at this point, right? You're slightly ahead in eco. You're slightly ahead in the age 3 play, but even that being said, you're not actually doing anything. So the one thing I think from this game that you can really gain, or that I can really definitively say that you can work on, is that aspect of your game. The 7 to 10 minute marks being active with your army, because you just kind of sat in your base and didn't really do anything with your army and let a bunch of your shrines go down. And if you take a look at the military unit population, while all that was happening, you were ahead, right? There was no reason for you to lose those shrines. You could have stayed ahead and kept your economy growing even more. So that what I think is the single biggest piece of criticism that I can give, is work on being more active with your army in that kind of transition period. It's perfectly safe to take your Ashigaros and run up and snipe one of his units and then fall back. Make sure you don't group the slow units with the fast units, so that when you are hitting and running like that you don't get caught up and slowed down. But that was I think the biggest piece that I can do, biggest piece of criticism I can give. The other thing that I mentioned briefly when I reloaded into the game that I noticed was there was a chance where you both hit age 3, you were both kind of saving to age. You had just killed a whole bunch of his units, and then you backed off and sieged a shrine over here, and then went back to standing on top of your base, where you probably could have just rolled into him and killed him. After you win a fight, I would always advise at least pursuing a little bit, if nothing else, you could have like killed more impactful shrines, like these ones down here, and then came back and killed the ones that were back here. But there was a chance probably that you could have just rolled into his base and killed him, because once again, if you look at the military unit population just before you guys are aging, right? This is that little engagement that we're talking about. He lost a bunch of units. You were significantly ahead. And if you would have pushed in here when he was at 29 pop and you were at 54 military pop, you would have probably just smashed down the doors and killed him, to be perfectly honest. But you took the safe approach and you still won as a result, so can't be too disappointed with that. Hopefully some of those things help, and hopefully if you have any more questions, like I said, a little bit easier to analyze losses than it is wins, because quite honestly your early game looked really solid. You've got the build down, your macro early on in the game, which is what some people have difficulty with, was pretty on point and have a ton of unspent resources. At the end you started stockpiling a little bit of resources, but that's something that I think you can be aware of and fix on your own. So feel free to submit another replay. Hopefully it helps. And that's going to be it. I see a couple people asking for another replay. I don't have a ton of replays to go from, so I'm just going to stick to one at a time for the time being. And I don't want to burn through all the replays at once. I want to keep a couple of them for later. So that's going to be it for the stream. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I don't usually ever do 2 replays in one session. I usually just do 1 replay at a time. I do always, or I have recently been uploading the VODs to YouTube, so you can always just check the end of the VODs to be able to see that. But that's going to do it for stream today. Thanks for tuning in, guys. As always, it's a pleasure, and I do enjoy it. So that's going to be it. I'm going to find another fancy Age of Empires stream to host, but that's going to do it for me. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you all next week. Take care.